Fantasy fanfiction. Konoha. The entire ninja world is my resurrection coin. Chapter 31. In the 40th year of Konoha, the Second Ninja War has entered a fever pitch. Konoha is at war with Sunagakur, Iwagakure, and Rain Shinobi Village at the same time. Rain Shinobi Village was the first to declare war on Konoha, and its territory has been riddled with wounds from years of war. The Rain Country battlefield Konoha already has an absolute advantage in many battlefields, and winning the final victory is only a matter of time. Rain Country, Rain Shinobi Village. This place is located at the junction of the Kingdom of Fire, the Kingdom of Wind and the Kingdom of Earth, living in the cracks between the big countries. The continuous heavy rain is like the continuous war in this country. Ninjas wearing Konoha forehead protectors and ninjas wearing Rock Shinobi forehead protectors fight together. These Konoha shinobi opened their curse seals one after another, and their brilliant ninjutsu and detonating charms flew everywhere, and blood and screams filled the entire battlefield. Go to hell, Konoha shinobi. Explosion-style thunder punch. The man with an afro wearing a Rock Shinobi forehead protector punched out, and the huge explosion directly blew the bodies of several Konoha shinobi into pieces. We are the most elite demolition force in Iwagakure. Even if you have the power of the curse seal, you will never be our opponent. Rock Shinobi elite Jonin Carey narrowed his eyes slightly. To be honest, Konoha's secret technique called curse seal far exceeded Iwagakure's expectations. Rock Shinobi, who originally wanted to sit on the mountain and watch the tiger head, saw that Rain Shinobi Village was facing Konoha's collapse and had to personally balance the forces of all parties to prevent its interests in the Kingdom of Rain from being cannibalized by Konoha. Just to divide the battlefield, Iwagakure's most elite demolition troops had to go out in person. To be honest, this has somewhat deviated from Iwagakure's original plan. After all, Rock Shinobi's main interest appeal now is Cloud Shinobi Village, which has fallen into a trough due to the death of Third Raikage. It's actually Iwagakure's demolition force. Yuhi Mahong gritted her teeth. Facing such an enemy, even he felt a little helpless. But at this moment, a giant purple snake suddenly appeared from the ground in the middle of the battle between Konoha and Iwagakure. What? Carey looked shocked and hurriedly used technique to dodge. But after all, not all Rock Shinobi ninjas are elite Jonin like him. With one bite from the giant snake, countless Iwagakure ninjas became the prey of the giant snake. Look, there seems to be someone on the head of that giant snake. Listening to his companion's exclamation, Carey turned his gaze, but the moment he saw the identity of the visitor, cold sweat broke out on his forehead. That is, the man called the wind of disaster that brings destruction and destruction. Wasn't he sent to the other side to deal with the Kong Ninja Village? Why are you here? No one answered Carey's doubts. All he could hear was the screams of the Iwagakure ninjas being bitten by the giant snake. When Chu came back to his senses, he found a figure suddenly appeared in front of Chu. Explosion style. The blood inheritance limit is the same as Deidara, but the difference is in the method of use. Orochimaru licked the corner of his mouth. Carey looked shocked and hurriedly used his special ninjutsu. Explosion style thunder punch. Seeing Carey's fist swing at him, Orochimaru responded with his fist. Use the chakra produced by the ultimate body to release the ultimate power. The black chakra condensed in Orochimaru's hand and was swung out with his fist. Ninja technique, Super Divine Fist. The black chakra burst out, instantly annihilating the explosion caused by Sho, and then, under Sho's disbelieving eyes, it bombarded him with unabated force. He instantly flew dozens of meters upside down and fell to the ground. How can it be? After spitting out such a sound, Sho's neck tilted and he no longer had any breath. With Orochimaru's intervention, all the Rock Shinobi ninjas were wiped out in just 1 minute. Looking at Orochimaru's figure, both Yuhi Shinobi and other Konoha Shinobi showed excitement. Lord Orochimaru. Lord Orochimaru. Orochimaru nodded slightly, greeting the temporary commander. How is the situation on the front line? With the power of the curse seal, we have gained an absolute advantage on the frontal battlefield. Tsunade-sama and Jiraiya-sama then decided to lead the attack force in a final decisive battle against the Rain Country. Yuhi Junhong gritted her teeth. But according to our intelligence, Hanzo seems to be leading the last Rain Shinobi ninjas to make a desperate move. We even contacted Sand Shinobi and Iwagakure to prevent our support. Tsunade-sama and Jiraiya-sama are currently trapped in a trap arranged by Hanzo. I'm afraid. I see. Orochimaru nodded, neither worried nor sad. Where are Tsukumo and the others? Yuhi Mahong replied. Hanzo didn't just inform Iwagakure, Tsukumo-sama is now being held back by Tsunagakure's puppet army. We are also unable to go to support because of Iwagakure's harassment. In that case, you should go and help Tsukumo. As for the ninja demigod, Orochimaru smiled casually. I can do it alone. Rain Country, Rain Shinobi Village. The never-ending heavy rain in the Kingdom of Rain washes away the blood all over the battlefield. A man wearing a gas mask stood high up, looking down at the two Konoha shinobi below. Hanzo of the Salamander, a man named Ninja Demigod. Now that Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara died, he is the man standing at the top of the ninja world. Following his gaze, there were two ninjas, one white and one gold, one male and one female wearing Konoha forehead protectors. Jiraiya, Tsunade. They are Konoha's elite Jonin, direct disciples of the third Hokage, and the commanders of Konoha's side during the war between Konoha and Rain Shinobi. But at this moment, they have reached the point where they are running out of gas and energy. Tsunade gasped frantically, his body covered in bruises. Jiraiya didn't even have the strength to stand up, so he could only kneel down on one knee and look at Hanzo with an expression of unwillingness. Hanzo is actually so strong. I never thought that I would need to rely on charity from my enemies to survive. Tsunade clenched her fists unwillingly. We don't need your sympathy, we can continue to fight. Jiraiya shouted angrily. But Hanzo ignored Jiraiya's shouts and just looked at the two people below indifferently. I'm afraid Konoha village is winning this war. Looking at the corpses of ninjas scattered around Rain Shinobi village, Hanzo's eyes flickered slightly. You two are amazing and you survived being in this situation. As expected of someone who is a disciple of the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen along with Orochimaru. I, Hanzo, will call you Sarutobi Hiruzen's disciples Konoha Sannin from now on. You should be buried with the ninjas of Rain Shinobi village with the name I gave you. Hanzo's eyes flashed coldly, and he raised his scythe, preparing to unleash the final blow. How could it be possible for you to kill us so easily? Ninja technique, random lion hair technique. Jiraiya yelled angrily, his white hair suddenly grew longer, and he attacked Hanzo. Swordsmanship chain scythe two-stage strike. But Hanzo waved the chain and bound all Jiraiya's hair. Then he raised the scythe in his hand and launched a slash from top to bottom. A deep wound was left on Jiraiya's chest, even the ribs were vaguely visible, and purple poisonous blood oozed from the wound. Jiraiya had a reluctant expression on his face, but he still fell back and lost consciousness. Seeing Jiraiya being defeated instantly, Tsunade's expression sank slightly. Don't worry, you will go down with him. Water-style Grand Falls technique. Following Hanzo's hand seal, countless waves suddenly emerged from the surroundings and poured down towards Jiraiya and Tsunade. Its scale was like a huge waterfall, as if it wanted to completely bury Tsunade and Jiraiya with this endless water flow. Finished. Tsunade closed his eyes and seemed to give up the struggle. Earth-style earthquake core. A hoarse and plain voice came. The voice was obviously not loud, but it made everyone present look startled. The ground beneath Tsunade and Jiraiya suddenly rose, avoiding the fate of being buried by the waterfall. This level of earth style. Hanzo narrowed his eyes and turned his gaze to the position next to Tsunade. He has long black hair, slightly pale skin, and a pair of golden snake eyes that still give off a cold and dangerous aura. Orochimaru. As he murmured the name, murderous intent suddenly appeared in Hanzo's eyes. Orochimaru, I don't know why you are here, but since you are seeking your own death, don't blame me for killing you here. Only by killing you can I avenge the thousands of Rain Shinobi who died at your hands. Orochimaru was the commander-in-chief of Konoha's war against Rain Shinobi. Under his curse seal and his cold decisions, countless ninjas in Rain Shinobi village were killed, and even Rain Shinobi village itself had reached a precarious situation. Those ninjas loyal to him were killed one by one. After this battle, Rain Shinobi's whereabouts are unknown. How could Hanzo let go of such hatred? Orochimaru looked at Hanzo in front of him, his eyes twinkling slightly. Even though he defeated Tsunade and Jiraiya, there were almost no scars on his body. This all tells the story of the huge gap between this strong man who stands at the pinnacle of the ninja world and a quasi-cage level elite like Jiraiya. Orochimaru heads towards Tsunade's direction. Tsunade, can you still move? Barely okay. Thanks to the antidote you prepared in advance, at least I won't be poisoned by the toxins of the Sancho fish just by breathing. Tsunade smiled reluctantly. Although I barely managed to hang Jiraiya's life, it is impossible for him to wake up in a short time with such an injury. It seems that only the two of us can deal with this demigod together. But I'm almost out of strength. If you can't defeat Hanzo, we may have to die here together. However, the thought of dying with you is somewhat of a comfort. Haha, I don't want to die yet. Laughing, Orochimaru suddenly pushed Tsunade away with force. You take that idiot Jiraiya and leave first. I will meet this legendary demigod again. Fire style detonate the flame array. Before Orochimaru could finish speaking, the ground around him suddenly began to sink, and the surrounding ground turned into densely packed detonating symbols, one after another wrapping around Orochimaru's legs. Careful. Tsunade's pupils shrank and he couldn't help but exclaim. Boom, boom, boom. There were dense explosions. Hanzo closed his eyes and let the cold rain fall on his face. In this way, the Rain Shinobi can rest in peace in the underworld. He once declared war on the 5 major powers, trying to free Rain Shinobi Village from becoming a battlefield for the major powers. However, although he is confident that he is not inferior to any cage, Rain Shinobi Village cannot be compared with the power of the great powers. He defeated countless ninjas from Konoha, Sand Shinobi, and Rock Shinobi, but many more Rain Shinobi Village ninjas died at their hands. They lost. Under Orochimaru's offensive, Rain Shinobi Village's original nearly 10,000 ninjas were wiped out. He personally led the troops to encircle and suppress the Sannin, but Orochimaru asked Tsunade and Jiraiya to hold him back, and Orochimaru single-handedly killed all the Rain Shinobi ninjas except himself. That's the life of nearly 1,000 Rain Shinobi Village ninjas. All the ninjas who had been loyal to him died. Even if the war ends now, he will be left alone. Rain Shinobi Village has ceased to exist in name only. But, Orochimaru. Hanzo's face showed a hint of ferocity as he felt a great revenge had been avenged. Suddenly, Hanzo's eyes widened. A dark shadow had wrapped around his body at some point. Latent Shadow Snake Hand. Using the Latent Shadow Snake Hand to restrain Hanzo, Orochimaru held a Kusanagi sword in his other hand and flew towards Hanzo. Water Style, Water Instant Technique. Orochimaru's Kusanagi sword pierced Hanzo and hit only a puddle of water. Water Style. If Second Hokage's Water Style is more accomplished in the use of Water Style form and nature transformation, Kisami's Water Style is as powerful as the sea under the blessing of the huge chakra, then Hanzo's Water Style is elusive. Situation. In a battlefield like the Kingdom of Rain, where it rains year after year, he is almost invincible. Just now, Orochimaru used Lava Style's defense to forcefully resist the attack of the detonating flame formation. He originally wanted to rely on Hanzo's timing to relax after he thought he had won. Unexpectedly, Hanzo was so cautious and had his water teleportation ready at any time. Summoning technique Sancho Fish Ibushi. With one missed hit, the ground beneath Orochimaru's feet suddenly began to tremble violently. A huge Sancho fish suddenly burst out of the ground with its mouth open. Orochimaru jumped up quickly and avoided falling into the mouth of the Sancho fish. But the Sancho fish suddenly raised its head and sprayed a wide range of poisonous mist from its mouth. Poison spray. The toxin of the Sancho fish is so toxic that even Hanzo, who possesses the poisonous antibodies of the Sancho fish, will be poisoned by the poison sac. If Orochimaru and Tsunade hadn't worked together to prepare the antidote in advance, the poison in the air alone would have been enough to make the three of them fall to Hanzo's hands. Wind Style, Great Breakthrough. Orochimaru used a huge wind style to blow away the poison, but Hanzo had already used the hidden poison to bully him forward. Orochimaru, who was still in the air, was unable to escape. Swordsmanship, I/slash. The sickle coated with poison shone with a terrifying light. But in an instant, Orochimaru was cut in half. Tsunade's crazily trembling pupils reflected the blood all over the sky. Orochimaru. Driven by anger, Tsunade, who was at the end of his strength, suddenly regained his strength. A black curse mark like a flame spread from her neck to her whole body. She flew towards Hanzo's position and raised her feet high. My feet hurt. Hanzo hurriedly used the body flicker technique to dodge, but his original location turned into a bottomless pit under Tsunade's blow. Hanzo was slightly frightened when he saw the power of Tsunade's attack. It's such a terrifying power. This kind of power may have reached the level of a shadow. But Hanzo suddenly focused his gaze and formed a seal with one hand. Tsunade suddenly found that the ground around him suddenly turned into countless burning detonating symbols. The densely packed detonating talisman completely surrounded Tsunade, as if waiting for the moment it burned out to completely blow Tsunade to pieces. But Tsunade no longer had any chakra to deal with. For some reason, she suddenly thought of her past. Her great-grandfather, Senju Hashirama, died of a recurrence of an old injury shortly after defeating Uchiha Madara. Her second grandfather, Senju Tobirama, died alone in the Kingdom of Thunder in order to buy time for his disciples to escape. Her younger brother Nawaki became Orochimaru's disciple. Although he did not die on the battlefield, he died inexplicably in Senju's house, becoming a thorn in her heart that she could never remove. She recalled her idea of forming a medical club, but neither her teacher nor Jiraiya were on her side, only Orochimaru and his supporters supported her. She recalled how drunk she and Orochimaru were that night, and Orochimaru's drunken madness, and finally fell asleep in Orochimaru's arms. Am I going to end up here too? But it's not bad to be with Orochimaru. Thinking like this, Tsunade closed his eyes and gave up the last struggle. Boom, boom, boom. Continuous explosions sounded, but the expected pain did not come. Tsunade opened his eyes in confusion and found that he seemed to be in the body of some giant animal. This giant beast used its body to block the attack of the detonating flame array. Outside, Hanzo watched in shock as the purple snake swallowed Tsunade into his body, and then used his body to resist the attack of the detonating talisman. Snake, how is it possible? I will Orochimaru him. Just when Hanzo was horrified, a flash of red flashed from the giant snake's eyes. It's 3 Tomo Sharingan. Hanzo instantly recognized the shape of those eyes. Not good. Hanzo suddenly felt that his spirit was in a trance for a moment, and then, a strong tingling sensation came from his chest. The pain made Hanzo wake up immediately. He lowered his head and saw half of a dark brown branch piercing out of his chest, carrying his own bright red blood. Wood-style cutting technique. He turned around in disbelief. The pale figure appeared behind him at some point. What's wrong? Are you surprised that I'm still alive after being cut into 2 pieces? Are you still surprised by my Sharingan and wood style? Hanzo opened his mouth and looked at the branches on his chest to say something, but was stopped by the blood pouring from his throat. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and the light in his eyes slowly dimmed. I'm half god and half hidden, how could it be so simple? Orochimaru's cold golden pupils did not fluctuate at all, only the blood splattered on his face remained a little warm, as if telling what happened just now. The frog in the well has no idea how vast the ninja world is. If you are a demigod, then I am the god of this world. The formation of 10,000 snakes. Looking at Sancho fish being strangled to death by countless snakes, Orochimaru skillfully opened the seal scroll and sealed Sancho fish and Hanzo's bodies into it. Although Orochimaru can also use the lightning-style armor to directly defeat Hanzo head-on. But that would only take more effort, and there is a possibility that Hanzo, who is cautious by nature, could escape. At that time, in order to prevent Hanzo from escaping, more trump cards will need to be exposed, which is not what Orochimaru wants to see. Battles between ninjas are more than just clashes of brute force. Taking full advantage of intelligence is a must for ninjas before reaching legendary levels like Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara. After the giant snake summoned by the summoning technique blocked Tsunade's attack from the detonating talisman, it also turned into a wisp of white smoke and dispersed. Tsunade couldn't help but sigh in relief when he saw Orochimaru still standing. She was already exhausted, but she attacked Hanzo with the fear and anger of Orochimaru's death. Now that she saw that Orochimaru was still alive, the curse mark on her face slowly dissipated, and she no longer had the strength to stand, and fell backwards. Orochimaru stretched out a hand and wrapped his arms around Tsunade's waist to hug her, preventing her from coming into contact with the ground. Orochimaru, don't do such dangerous things next time. Naoki has left me. If you leave too, it's hard for me to imagine how I can survive. Tsunade put his arms around Orochimaru, as if afraid of him leaving. Although I don't know what method Orochimaru used to deceive and kill Hanzo, but that's not important. As long as Orochimaru lives. She had lost almost all her relatives in the war. Her grandfather, her second grandfather, her parents, her younger brother. And the final Orochimaru is the sustenance of all his emotions and the motivation to support his survival. Orochimaru rarely saw Tsunade look so fragile, so he couldn't help but gently caress her soft back, and his tone became softer. Don't worry, I'm the immortal Orochimaru. Orochimaru glanced at the heavenly curse seal on Tsunade's neck and replied meaningfully. Tsunade smiled reluctantly, seeming to accept Orochimaru's strange comfort. But she didn't know that Orochimaru's words that seemed like a joke were an extremely serious statement. Uchiha, I have obtained the power of Senju, what's next is. Soothing Tsunade, Orochimaru murmured to himself. 5 years have passed by in a blink of an eye. Since Hanzo officially declared war on Konoha, the Second Ninja War has officially begun. After it was determined that the third Raikage could not be found, Cloud Shinobi Village completely gave up and let the son of the third Raikage inherit the position of the fourth Raikage. Iwagakure took advantage of Cloud Shinobi Village's weakness to attack Cloud Shinobi Village, and a war broke out between the two countries. At the same time, Tsukumo heads to the battlefield on the south side of the Rain Country to fight against the Sand Shinobi. Orochimaru led the ninjas to compete with Rain Shinobi and Rock Shinobi. In the chaotic battlefield of the Kingdom of Rain, a battle broke out between Rain Shinobi and Sand Shinobi, Rain Shinobi and the Kingdom of Iron. In order to fight on multiple fronts, Onoki did not engage in a large-scale war with Konoha, but only sent some teams to harass the battle. Sand Shinobi was also worried about Iwagakure's sneak attack and was too hesitant to let go. In fact, Rain Shinobi Village is the only one currently at full-scale war with Konoha. This time in the war between Konoha and Rain Shinobi, because of Orochimaru's intervention, Konoha has a greater advantage on the battlefield. The Konoha Shinobi with the power of the Curse Seal can almost fight 1 against 2. With the equipment of medical ninjas, Konoha the death ratio with Rain Shinobi reached an extremely exaggerated 1:5. However, this situation also aroused a more violent resistance in Rain Shinobi Village, resulting in a war that was far more intense than in the original work. Until not long ago, the raid on the Kong Ninja Village forced Orochimaru to leave the Land of Rain. When Rain Shinobi was on the verge of death, Hanzo naturally would not give up his rare chance to breathe, and personally led the last elite troops to besiege Tsunade and Jiraiya, trying to hold them hostage and force Konoha to give in. But unfortunately, the power of the Curse Seal is beyond Hanzo's knowledge. Facing the Konoha Shinobi who opened their Curse Seals one after another, the elite force he led was no match for the enemy and was completely annihilated. He is left alone to avenge the fallen Rain Shinobi ninjas. After the death of Hanzo and the last Rain Shinobi unit, Rain Shinobi Village can probably be officially declared destroyed. Just like the nickname given to Orochimaru by other hidden villages, it is the Wind of Disaster that brings all disasters and destruction. Neither the Cloud Shinobi, the Kong Ninja Village nor the Rain Shinobi, which was second only to the 5 great hidden villages, could resist the raging wind. Not a blade of grass grows in the land it sweeps. Thinking about it, Orochimaru's other hand turned into a giant snake and tightly bound Jiraiya who had fainted due to excessive blood loss. As for the corpses of Konoha Shinobi and Rain Shinobi scattered around, Orochimaru turned a blind eye. Whether it was Rain Shinobi or Konoha, there were probably only 3 of them left alive on this battlefield. When the Orochimaru 3 stepped into the Konoha camp, the ninjas stationed there looked excited. Countless Konoha Shinobi came forward to greet him. Lord Orochimaru, Tsunade-sama, Jiraiya-sama. In the corner, a white-haired man saw the 3 people returning safely. He breathed a sigh of relief and then quietly disappeared. He is of course Hatake Tsukumo who just defeated Sand Shinobi's troops. Even though his chakra has been exhausted and his body is covered with wounds, he cares about his companions and will only be willing to go back and have a good rest if he sees Orochimaru and others come back safe and sound. As the temporary commander of the camp, Yuhi Junhong finally let go of her tense nerves when she saw the three of them. The battle situation on the front line was tragic. Almost all the attacking troops were wiped out. I heard that Hanzo took all the remaining strength of Rain Shinobi Village to make a desperate move. We were still worried. Don't worry. With me, Jiraiya-sama, I can solve the problem of Sancho fish in just a few clicks. Mount Myoboku Toad Sage Jiraiya-sama, you are right below. Jiraiya, who was resurrected with full health under Tsunade's medical ninjutsu, put his hands on his hips and looked arrogant. As expected of Lord Jiraiya. The surrounding ninjas couldn't help but have expressions of admiration on their faces. Tsunade, on the other hand, silently gave him a look of contempt. If Orochimaru hadn't come to the rescue, none of the five of you would have been able to defeat Hanzo. Even if you come back alive, it's all my fault. But looking at Orochimaru's indifferent expression, Tsunade didn't bother to expose Jiraiya. Anyway, this idiot is playing tricks for more than a day or two. Orochimaru-sensei. Orochimaru-sensei. The two girls suddenly burst out of the crowd and rushed in front of Orochimaru. Orochimaru smiled. Haha, you are back too. Has the matter been resolved in Kong Ninja Village as well? Yes, Orochimaru-sama. Makoto nodded. All the remnants of the empty ninja have been completely eliminated by us. Orochimaru gently rubbed Makoto and Nono's heads, and then spoke in his unique husky tone. You have done a great job, and you are worthy of being my proud disciple. Makoto showed an expression of enjoyment, and she pressed her face intimately against Orochimaru's chest, as if this could reassure her. She had lost her parents and companions in the war, and except for Nono, she only had her teacher Orochimaru left. Nanoyu held Orochimaru's palm with his hand and put it on her face, just like when Orochimaru induced her. Orochimaru, your disciple has a really good relationship with you. Tsunade said with some taste. Although anyone with a discerning eye can see her relationship with Orochimaru, she cannot do the coquettishly intimate behavior like Makoto and Nono did with Orochimaru in public. After all, she was the granddaughter of the first Hokage, the princess of the Fire Country, the director of Konoha's medical department, and the deputy war commander. She had countless eyes watching her every move. Jiraiya also looked at Orochimaru, who was surrounded by two girls, with some jealousy. Suddenly I felt that Asahi Junhong and the others were bragging and pretending to be uncomfortable. Why don't I have such a good relationship with women? That's it for Orochimaru's two surviving disciples. Even Tsunade, whom he has always had a crush on, prefers Orochimaru. But is he just a little more handsome than me, a little stronger than me, and a little smarter than me? It seems like there's a lot of difference. Jiraiya suddenly wanted to ask his teacher, Sarutobi Hiruzen, for a cigarette. But Jiraiya, who is optimistic by nature, cheered up immediately. I can't defeat Orochimaru, so I'll let my apprentice do it. The great Toad Sage said that his disciples would save the ninja world in the future. Then his apprentice must be a talented ninja who is not inferior to Makoto and Nono. Jiraiya suddenly thought of a blonde figure. Speaking of which, because of the sudden war, Minato and the three of them were not taught anything. It's decided, when this war is over and we return to Konoha, we'll train those three brats. Sunagakur. The Konoha Sannin defeated Hanzo's elite troops and joined forces to kill Hanzo. Haha, I have seen the level of those two guys, Tsunade and Jiraiya. Depending on their ability, even being able to escape from Hanzo is considered a great thing. Chiyo took a sip of tea. It must be Orochimaru. The wind of disaster that brings all disasters. Ebizo also echoed softly. Third Cage was slightly silent, as if he recognized Ebizo's point of view. He looked at the news on the table about the defeat of the Sand Shinobi ninjas at Tsukumo's hands, and closed his eyes. Konoha's White Fang, Orochimaru. Why do so many geniuses always emerge in Konoha? Also, the curse seal of heaven and earth. If Sand Shinobi could also possess this power, how could we, Sand Shinobi, be reduced to being beaten by Konoha on the frontal battlefield? Cloud Shinobi Village. Konoha Sannin. Two more top powerhouses have appeared in Konoha. Fourth Raikage looked at the information on the table, especially the information about the Pale Man, and couldn't help clenching his fists. Orochimaru. The deaths of Toshiro and Blueby, the rampage of Eight Tails, and the disappearance of my father. This is all about you. The emotion of hatred lingered in Ai's heart, but he could only exhale unwillingly. But we no longer have the power to intervene in the situation over there. That old guy Onoki has also been sending ninjas to harass the border of the Kingdom of Thunder. And once I arrived at the front line with the two-tailed Jinchuriki, I led the rock shinobi to retreat immediately, leaving the cloud shinobi ninjas in a state of distress. And the most important thing now is... Third Raikage walked to the window and looked at a young figure on the street of Cloud Shinobi Village. He has dark skin and wears black glasses. Killer B, Eight Tails Jinchuriki to be determined after Bruby's death. Unfortunately, Cloud Shinobi Village no longer has the power to seal Eight Tails, so it can only send Anbu ninjas to monitor and prevent them from being captured by other villages. In addition, Cloud Shinobi can only let Eight Tails move freely in the Land of Thunder. At this moment, a Cloud Shinobi suddenly rushed into Raikage's office. No, Raikage-sama. Eight Tails discovered the surveillance of our Anbu troops and completely annihilated our ninjas. Asshole. I must catch that beast with my own hands this time. Fourth Raikage shouted loudly and started clapping the case. The entire table was reduced to smithereens under his power. Fourth Raikage's thunder armor erupted from his body, turning into a bolt of lightning and rushing out of the window. Iwagakure. Is the information true? We have collected intelligence from many aspects and after repeated confirmation, we believe that this information is very authentic. Listening to his subordinate's report, Onoki was silent for a while. The future life is terrible. It is because of these invincible geniuses that Konoha can still maintain its position as the #1 ninja village in the ninja world after the deaths of Uchiha Madara, Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobarama. Even our demolition troops suffered heavy losses due to Orochimaru. The look of regret disappeared in a flash. Then, Onoki's chrysanthemum-like face showed another smile. So our strategy of temporarily avoiding Konoha's edge during the Second Ninja World War is wise. Choose the currently weakest Cloud Shinobi as our target to encroach on their land and resources. Once successful, Iwagakure's power will be greatly enhanced. When other villages weaken Konoha to a certain extent, the next ninja war will be our stage. As for now, quickly gather some of Iwagakure's ninjas. We, Rock Shinobi, will also share in the fall of Rain Shinobi Village. The news of Konoha Sanin's defeat of Hanzo spread quickly throughout the ninja world like wings. In just a few days, the reputation of Konoha Sanin will be known to the entire ninja world. With the power of 3 people, they defeated the entire elite force of Rain Shinobi Village and jointly defeated the demigod of the ninja world, Hanzo of the Salamander, causing Rain Shinobi Village to basically exist in name only. Among the 3, Orochimaru, the leader of the Sanin, has the most outstanding strength and methods. Don't be an enemy easily. The moment all the ninja villages received the news, they all had this idea and labeled Orochimaru as dangerous. Somewhere in the space, a white-haired old man sat on a stone chair. A pitcher plant-like person suddenly appeared from the wall. There is one thing. I wonder if Madara-sama will be interested in it. The old man opened his eyes slightly. Although he is now an old man in his 70s, he still exudes a terrifying aura. Madara-sama, I have a piece of information about demigod Hanzo that I don't know if you would be interested in. The white pitcher plant-like creature showed a curious expression. A man with the name of a demigod, I wonder who is stronger between him and Madara-sama. Uchiha Madara raised her eyebrows slightly. Demigod. Uchiha Madara thought of another man with the title of ninja god. He turned to look mocking. Ah, a mere mortal dares to call himself a god even though he cannot even touch the power of 6 paths. Then Uchiha Madara's emotionless eyes turned to White Zetsu. Did you come back just to tell me this? No, Madara-sama. What we want to say is that he was killed. White Zetsu said suddenly excitedly. It's a ninja named Orochimaru. Orochimaru. Uchiha Madara searches his memory and does not find a character named Orochimaru. But that's normal. In the entire Sengoku era, in the final analysis, the only one who was qualified for him to take a serious look at was Senju Hashirama. He is the disciple of the 3rd Hokage, the disciple of Senju Tobarama. Upon hearing a certain name, Uchiha Madara's eyes suddenly darkened. Senju Tobarama. After a while, he loosened his clenched fists. That's all, I've already controlled Goldenhorn and Silverhorn to let him die in the Kingdom of Thunder. As for Orochimaru, He's just a slightly stronger ant, not worth mentioning. As long as it doesn't interfere with my plans, let him be. Although my current status is not suitable for taking action casually, if he stands in front of us. Uchiha Madara closed his eyes, and his old face looked a little old. When he opened it again, the turbid color in his eyes completely disappeared, and the frantically rotating Sharingan revealed cold murderous intent. I will kill him myself. Orochimaru, Makoto, Nunoyu and Tsunade, 4 people wearing raincoats, walked on the road to the land of rain. This time their mission is an S-class mission personally assigned by 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, to sign a post-war agreement with Rain Shinobi Village, which was crippled by them. Of course, Hanzo has been killed by Orochimaru, and the entire Rain Shinobi Village existence itself has completely collapsed and died. Therefore, this time, the one who signed the contract with them was the daimyo of the country of Rain. Jiraiya is still sitting in the headquarters and has no companions. The war is not over yet, and there are never only ninjas from Konoha and Rain Shinobi in the land of Rain. As the Rain country in the center of a large country, the war between Konoha and Sand Shinobi and Rock Shinobi is also going on in this country. And Iwagakure has been restless recently, and seems to have some plans to gather troops in the land of Rain. Suddenly, Orochimaru, Makoto, Nono, and Tsunade looked at each other. It seems that not everyone is willing to see a truce between us and Rain Shinobi. With a chuckle, the 4 of them jumped back. And a huge explosion suddenly occurred on the spot. It is a trap set in advance with countless detonating symbols. Seeing that the ambush was not possible, dense ninjas also appeared from the surrounding buildings and completely surrounded the 4 Orochimaru. They all wear Rain Shinobi Village forehead protectors on their heads. Of course, during the war, those who wore forehead protectors from the corresponding ninja village were not necessarily the ninjas from that ninja village. Orochimaru is very confident. Under his strangulation strategy, the living Rain Shinobi will never be able to gather so many high-level ninjas. After all, he is very clear about the power of his curse seal. Rock Shinobi are Tsunogakure's ninja. Tsunade guessed. Although Konoha is currently engaged in a low-intensity war with Sand Shinobi and Rock Shinobi at the same time. But the more entangled interests are only about the division of the Kingdom of Rain's forces, and they have not reached the point of breaking their faces. But now that Konoha has defeated Rain Shinobi and is on the verge of annexing the Rain country in one fell swoop, they naturally cannot remain indifferent. Then the answer is clear. They are the assassins of Rock Shinobi or Sand Shinobi. 10 Jonin and Special Jonin, 30 Chunin. A cage-level assassin like Danzo would probably find it difficult to deal with such an assassination lineup. But, use it against us. Are you looking down on us too much? Orochimaru's eyes widened suddenly. Summoning technique 10,000 snakes. A huge purple-black striped python with horns sprang out from the ground and bit these ninjas. The snake that cultivated sage mode in Ruchi Cave can shed its snake skin, grow horns, and evolve into a dragon. This giant purple snake with horns undoubtedly holds considerable status in Ruchi Cave. Be careful, that's Orochimaru's signature summoning beast. These ninjas were frightened and hurriedly dodged, but many of them were still swallowed in one bite. Wind style. They hurriedly formed seals to attack Wanshi with ninjutsu. But before they could complete the ninjutsu, several kunai with tricky angles pierced their heads directly. Lord Orochimaru, let me kill these people who disrespect you. Makoto had turned on the Sharingan at some point and looked at the ninja in front of him with an evil look. Haha, in that case, let me see what you have learned under me over the years, Makoto. Yes, Orochimaru-sama. Hearing this, Makoto's hands turned into phantoms, and soon a flame came out of her mouth. Fire-style Great Fireball Technique. Ah! One Chunin was hit directly and screamed in pain as the flames burned. He struggled and rolled over on the ground in an attempt to extinguish the flames, but in the end he just turned into a charred corpse. Although fire style is called the kind technique and the unhitting technique in the original work, that is only because they are facing elite ninjas with names. In fact, fire style is a very efficient way to kill people when facing low-level ninjas like Chunin. Wind style Wind Blade. Wind style Wind Blade. Wind style Wind Blade. After all, it was an elite team with many Jonin, after the initial panic. All the ninjas used the wind style ninjutsu that they were best at with great tacit understanding. Countless wind blades attacked densely, but Makoto didn't panic at all. The Sharingan in her eyes turned wildly. Then, among the dense wind blades, Makoto took a leisurely stroll. She just moved her body slightly, and countless wind blades passed by her, but none of them fell on her. A Jonin had a look of horror on his face. Sharingan. Although I have known for a long time that the Uchiha clan's Sharingan is extremely difficult to deal with, I didn't expect it to be so powerful. After avoiding all attacks, Makoto found the opportunity to jump into the air. Fire-style Phoenix Fire Technique. Makoto spits out a huge fireball continuously from his mouth, and then the fireball explodes, turning into countless fire rains and flying towards the enemy. The attack trajectory is like the fruit of impatience. She then threw several shurikens and incorporated them into the fire style. Fire style, Impatience Claw Red. The shurikens carrying the flames, combined with the shuriken skills of the Uchiha clan, directly surrounded a Jonin and blocked all escape directions. Wind style, Wind Wall. Naturally, a Jonin-level ninja could not be killed by this kind of attack. He tried to use the wind wall to resist Makoto's attack. But at this moment, the Sharingan in Makoto's eyes suddenly flashed red. Magic Yaohong Technique. The Jonin suddenly felt like several wedges had penetrated his body and he was unable to move. Illusion. But before he could untie it, shurikens shot from all directions had hit him, and the fire covering the shurikens also exploded in an instant. In the flames, the ninja fell down unwillingly with his eyes widened. This girl actually has such great strength. Killing a Jonin in an instant. Be careful, don't look her in the eyes. While they were surprised, other Jonin would not miss such a good opportunity. One Jonin immediately threw several kunai carrying detonating talismans in Makoto's direction, while the other ninja formed a seal and clasped his hands together. Wind style, Gale Palm. The wind pressure shrunk in his hands and evolved into a violent gale, blowing on the kunai, causing its flight speed to increase rapidly, and its lethality to increase exponentially. Makoto looked at the attacks getting closer and closer. She was still in the air and unable to dodge. Success. A ferocious smile appeared on the faces of these ninjas. But these ninjas forgot that Makoto wasn't the only one on the battlefield, there was also a giant snake with a bad temper. Wan Shi suddenly twisted his body wildly on the battlefield. With its size, even just moving will cause great trouble to the enemy. It suddenly rushed to Makoto's side and blocked the attack for Makoto. Boom! The detonating talisman detonated on Wan Shi's back, but only shattered a few of its scales. Moreover, the injured area is still regenerating at a speed visible to the naked eye. For his usual summoning beast, Orochimaru naturally won't just sit back and watch it grow naturally like the original. This snake has already been implanted with countless vital Hashirama cells by Orochimaru, which even gave it a certain degree of self-regeneration ability. Then Makoto accurately landed on Wan Shi's head, looking down at the ninja below. At this time, the Sharingan pattern in Wan Shi's eyes slowly dissipated. Looking at Makoto riding on his head, Wanzi looked dissatisfied. You actually used Sharingan to control me again to resist your attacks. Orochimaru, it doesn't matter that you are recognized by White Snake Sage, I am willing to be used as you please. But the disciples who assist you must provide me with 100 sacrifices each time. Shut up, I'll kill you if you dare to bargain. Orochimaru gave Wan Shi a cold look. Wan Shi couldn't help but shrink his head. As the boss of other snakes in Ruchi Cave, except for the white snake Senshi and the three goddess, how has it ever suffered such grievances? Looking at the enemy below, Wan Snake became more and more angry as he thought about it. It couldn't defeat Orochimaru, and it couldn't defeat these other humans. Since Orochimaru refuses, then I will eat it myself. It had a big mouth and pounced in the direction of a gathering of ninjas. Those ninjas hurriedly released wind-style attacks. Wind-style Wind Blade. However, the Wind Blade released by the Chunin-level ninja did not even scratch the scales of the snakes. Ah! In front of Wan Shi's size, these ninjas are as small as ants. Wan Shi only took one bite, and several ninjas entered its stomach. Several Jonin also launched an attack to try to stop the snakes, but Makoto had already used the body flicker technique and appeared in front of them. The Sharingan in her eyes flashed a red light, and a Jonin holding a knife suddenly froze on the spot. No, it's an illusion. Didn't I tell you not to look at her? A sarcastic smile appeared on Makoto's lips. Who told you that Sharingan can only cast illusions by looking at each other? There were looks of horror on the faces of these ninjas. But it was already too late. The dazzling light of lightning lit up in Makoto's hand, like thousands of birds chirping together. Lightning-style Chidori. Makoto disappeared in a flash of lightning, and when he reappeared, he was in front of that Jonin, piercing his heart with his hand. Wind-style, dust whirlwind. Just then, a hurricane blew up sand and surrounded Makoto. Vacuum sword. A ninja swung his ninja sword and slashed Makoto in half with a wind slash. But Makoto, who was cut in half, suddenly turned into several crows and scattered. Another illusion. When the real Makoto has appeared aside. Latent shadow snake hand. Several giant snakes emerged from one of Makoto's sleeves and wrapped tightly around a ninja. Her other hand turned into a phantom because she was forming seals too fast. Lightning-style Chidori sharp spear. Thunder and lightning extended from Makoto's hand, like a spear, piercing the ninja's body. Looking to the opposite side, there were only 2 Jonin left out of 10, and even less Chunin. But Makoto also started to pant slightly at this time. Makoto is not a ninja with a large amount of chakra like Naruto. The continuous release of advanced ninjutsu makes her chakra somewhat stretched. HMPH, is the chakra exhausted? Then go to hell. A Jonin had a ferocious look on his face and charged towards Makoto brandishing his sword. But Makoto suddenly smiled, and an unknown chakra spread from Makoto's neck to his whole body. Then her face was covered with strange black lines. The curse seal of heaven, state 1. Weeping thousand birds. The black lightning flashed away, and the Jonin still maintained the posture of raising the ninja's sword in a daze. He looked down at the arm that had pierced his chest, vomited a mouthful of blood, and fell to the ground. How can we defeat such an enemy? The last Jonin looked frightened and angry. He looked around hurriedly, trying to find an opportunity to escape. He quickly found Nanoyu. By the way, in this ninja world war, every team in Konoha will be equipped with a medical ninja. And usually the youngest one. As medical ninjas, there is a high probability that they are the ones with the weakest combat ability in the team. This 13 or 14-year-old kid is his only chance to survive. He quickly used the body flicker technique and rushed in the direction of Nanoyu. As long as he captures her and uses this girl as a hostage, it is possible to get the ninja of Konoha to let him go. When he was about to touch Nanoyu, a look of joy appeared on his face. Seeing this Jonin stretching out his arm, Nono's amber pupils flashed slightly behind his glasses. Oh, it would bother me a lot to be treated like a loser with no fighting skills. Besides, I don't want to be touched by a man other than Orochimaru-sama. Medical forbidden technique, physical revitalization. As Nanoyu's light words fell, this Jonin's eyes widened, and she noticed that Nanoyu's figure suddenly disappeared from his eyes. The surprised expression on this Jonin's face completely froze. Then, he found that his body suddenly lost control, and his upper body began to fall uncontrollably along his waist. Those unblinking eyes could only watch as the beige-haired girl behind her gently dispersed a handful of blue chakra scalpel in her hand. Watching the last enemy die, Makoto exhaled, the lines on his body gradually dissipated, and then a Shunpo returned to Orochimaru's side. Lord Orochimaru, you are lucky to have lived up to your mission. Orochimaru touched Makoto's hair and smiled. Then let's go. The gap between Jonin and Jonin is sometimes bigger than the gap between the 5 shadows and Genin. Even Orochimaru and Hitaki Sakumo are just Jonin in the final analysis, and there are Jonin like Tsunade and Jiraiya. Orochimaru and Hitaki Sakumo are super strong men who are truly capable of directly assuming the position of the 5 cages. It is not impossible for people like Tsunade and Jiraiya who are qualified to step into the quasi-cage level to become the 5 cages in an emergency. Of course, it is absolutely impossible to become a Hokage at the quasi-shadow level in a hidden village like Konoha where there are many talents. And the team in front of them is really just ordinary Jonin. It's just a bunch of ant-like characters trying to fend them off. From Orochimaru's point of view, it's just another village that wants to use his help to clear away its dissidents. This kind of thing is not uncommon. With a character like Danzo in Konoha, other villages are naturally not monolithic. Tsunade looked thoughtfully at the unnatural blush on Makoto's face under Orochimaru's touch. Daming mansion in the land of rain. Two beautiful maids cautiously welcomed the visit of Orochimaru and his party. They led Orochimaru and others into the Daming mansion, and led Orochimaru and Tsunade to different rooms. Makoto followed Orochimaru, while Nono followed Tsunade. Orochimaru was only responsible for the main content of the treaty this time. There are also some details that Tsunade will discuss with the ministers of the Daming prefecture. On the way, several servants secretly pressed a few coins into Orochimaru's hands. Oh, this is it. Orochimaru looked at them with some amusement. They just lowered their heads in humility. The daimyo is the master of this country. I hope you won't embarrass him too much later. Orochimaru suddenly raised a sarcastic curve on his lips and did not respond to his request. Finally, Orochimaru met the supreme leader of the Rain Country, the daimyo of the Rain Country. He was accompanied by two guards wearing Rain Shinobi Village forehead protectors. Orochimaru can tell their strength at a glance. Like the guys Makoto treated as wild monsters just now, they are very ordinary jonin. 5 kg level. It is naturally impossible for other strong men to lower themselves and become the guards of ordinary people. Jonin is probably the strongest level that these so-called masters of the country can drive. Tea has already been placed on the table, which is the finest gyokuro tea. There are several dancers in the hall who have been waiting for a long time and are ready to perform at any time. He looked like he was welcoming distinguished guests. Mr. Daimyo, we are not here for a visit. Instead, sign a peace agreement. I hope you won't waste my precious time. Orochimaru said in his hoarse tone, giving the daimyo a great sense of oppression. He couldn't help but stutter a little. I know. Then bring Konoha's terms. Orochimaru glanced at Makoto out of the corner of his eye, and Makoto signaled, taking out an agreement from his backpack and placing it on the table in front of the daimyo. The daimyo of the Land of Rain took a look at the contents of the agreement, with an angry look on his face. With this agreement, are you humiliating our country of rain? If I sign it, I will be a sinner in the kingdom of rain. We kindly received you with the highest courtesy, but you are teasing me with such an agreement. Orochimaru just smiled and tapped the table with his finger. Makoto suddenly appeared next to the daimyo, and cooperatively pressed the kunai against the daimyo's neck. A pair of sharingans exuded an icy aura of death. As for the original guard beside the daimyo, he had fallen to the ground at some point, not knowing whether he was alive or dead. Sign or die. Isn't it a good idea for me to do this? After leaving Daming Mansion, Tsunade looked nervous, as cautious as a thief. During the negotiation, the minister secretly sent someone to bribe Tsunade with money, hoping that she would save some face for the country of rain during the negotiation. It happened that Tsunade lost all her mission reward in the casino not long ago, so she thought it would not be a good idea to keep borrowing money from Orochimaru, so she accepted the minister's bribe. A full 5 million taels, which was almost her reward for completing 5S level tasks. But now she felt a little regretful. The money felt extremely hot to her hands. Tsunade, who has always had a high moral bottom line, had never done such a thing. Tsunade is addicted to gambling, but can't even cheat with a little ninjutsu, let alone accept bribes from enemy countries. This kind of thing made her feel guilty about violating her inner morals, but the thought of being able to go to the casino to play freely gave her a slightly unethical pleasure. Of course, she didn't know that as the main person in charge of this mission, Orochimaru received a total of 10 million taels in management fees. The Kingdom of Rain has been reduced to the point where it relies on bribes to let Konoha save a little face. Under such circumstances, it is natural that the signed agreement cannot be equal in the slightest. What's more, it's an agreement that an absolute hawk like Orochimaru is in charge of. Although the Land of Fire had just annexed the Land of Sky and was temporarily unable to spare the energy to continue annexing the Land of Rain, other parts of Orochimaru would not show any mercy. 1. The Kingdom of Rain ceded the area adjacent to the Kingdom of Fire as a wartime buffer zone. 2. The country of Rain compensated Konoha with 100 million ryo as compensation for the Konoha shinobi who died in the war. 3. Abolition of Rain Shinobi Village. As compensation, Konoha provides military protection to the Land of Rain. 4. Hand over the original sphere of influence of Sunagakur and Iwagakure in the Rain country to Konoha. 5. Allow Konoha shinobi to take all actions within the Land of Rain and provide maximum support. And other scattered divisions of interests. After this war, Hanzo died, and the Kingdom of Rain no longer had the ability to initiate any war. Such an agreement basically ensures the status of the Rain country as a vassal of the Fire country. Sarutobi Hiruzen's original intention was to give up some benefits and sign an armistice agreement as soon as possible, but Orochimaru was not so easy to deal with. On the surface, this agreement is Orochimaru doing his best to benefit Konoha. But if he were not motivated by his own interests, Orochimaru would naturally not do such a thankless thing. Thinking back to the daimyo Orochimaru who was kneeling on the ground crying and begging Orochimaru not to kill him, I almost wanted to laugh. They think they are noble, but in reality they are no different than ants in the face of real power. What a sad existence. Power without strength is false. The daimyo is the de facto head of state, and the rulers of Shinobi Village are just the leaders of violent organizations affiliated with the daimyo. But these so-called daimyo are actually only superficially higher than the leaders of the major ninja villages. When the ninja village was destroyed, they lost the protection of the ninja and became only a mascot in name only. Even if Orochimaru wanted all the wealth of the daimyo of Rain country, he would not dare to refuse the offer even if he lost the protection of Rain shinobi. In fact, Orochimaru did the same thing. Although the daimyo of the Land of Rain was very angry at first. But when Makoto put the kunai on his neck, he immediately agreed to this reasonable request. And with Makoto's Sharingan, I believe he will soon forget all the unpleasant things today and be able to sleep well at night. Orochimaru's research on some forbidden technique requires a lot of experiments and consumes a lot of money. He has collected many corpses of ninjas with special abilities during this war. The experimental subjects used as materials have also been solved through cloning technology. Even if the first Hokage is resurrected, he will not have any dissatisfaction with Orochimaru experimenting with unconscious clones. In terms of money, now that there is 1 billion taels of friendly assistance from the famous name of the Land of Rain, there is basically no big vacancy. After all, the price is close to 30 Sarutobi Asuma. Thanks for watching, subscribe and support my channel.